Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are at one of our TrailOff launch talks tonight for Lee Sumpter's story. She's joined by Jaylene Owens and Ursula Rucker, and Len Webb is going to be moderating this discussion. I'm Katie Dammers, an artistic producer at Fringe Arts, and before we get started, I just want to thank you so much for joining us at a Fringe Festival 2020 event. It has been quite a year, and it continues to be, and our festival has continued to evolve apace. This year, it's primarily a digital festival, though we have some live pieces, including TrailOff itself, and we want to thank you so much for joining us on this journey. One of the things that's great about a primarily digital festival is that geography is not quite the same barrier for us than it has been in years past. So whether you're local here to Philadelphia, or you live in London or Australia or Houston, Texas, you can all join us at the Fringe Festival. So we appreciate you joining us today, whether you're here live or watching the recording thereafter. And we encourage you to also tell your friends to join us too. You know, they can be with us whether they're in this time zone or one several away. And while you're at it, we encourage you to support Fringe Arts by getting a membership or consider gifting one to a friend.
Hey, how you doing out there? My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. How you doing? And welcome to tonight's TrailOff talk about Chronicles of Asylum, written by Lee Sumpter and featuring a fantastic cast of voice actors, including two of them with us this evening. We have Jaylene Owens and Ursula Rucker. For your listening pleasure, thank you so much for taking the time to sit in and talk with us, and we'll hopefully get to all of your questions, all of your thoughts and concerns about this great story. Lee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Len. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Thanks for hosting tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure seeing you, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this fantastic talk. Now, okay, so let's just jump right into this. All right, Lee.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the Chronicles of Asylum, is part mystery, part science fiction, it's part Afrofuturism, but it also speaks about an urban mythology, which is something that I know that you keep your fingers like really deep into the whole thing about mythology. I know about Greek mythology, I know about Roman, African, Egyptian mythology, but this is about an urban mythology. Exactly what is urban mythology and what part does it play in this story?
I think it's fair to say urban mythology could mean a lot of things, right?
Right.
But to me, when I was speaking about urban mythology, I was thinking about a contemporary myth, one that is kind of emerging from a city, right? In this case, Philadelphia, circa 2045, in the not too distant future. And it's also about like rumors on the streets, you know what I mean? Like mythologies can emerge, stories can emerge from what you hear on the street that becomes, rumor, becomes legend, becomes myth,
Right.
and then the rest is history. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I thought that's what you meant. I didn't want to put words into your mouth, so I wanted to ask you straight.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's all interpretive. It's always interpretive,
Right. Right. So then this story, The Chronicles of Asylum, which, as you mentioned, is set in 2045. Hard as it is for me to believe, that is a mere 25 years away. Yet this story, which talks about an impending cosmic event, and I have it right here. It said it in the marketing for this. An impending cosmic event is coming a mere 24 years away. What do you know, Lee, that we do not know?
Look, I hope I don't know anything about this. I hope this is really strictly out of my imagination. But the thing is, I think we all learned in a very kind of hard lesson that art does imitate life, with the work of Parable of the Sower, Octavia E. Butler, and that story that was written around this time, right, in the 2020s. Right. So it's just like, and now we're kind of living out very very similar story world to what she created in real life. So it's not hard to imagine, not hard to believe that this could be a possibility for us in the near future. I mean, you know, for those blurs of us and other nerds and geeks and folks that like science and really kind of stay up on interstellar objects and how close they come to this planet on the regular, you know, this is something that has always been in the back of my mind. Well, I will say maybe not the back, but kind of like closer to the front, to be honest, because as far as cosmic destruction, you know, apocalypse is, you know, it's dealt in so many different ways. It can be sliced, you know, 6 ways of Sunday, right? But then the idea is that the cosmic destruction, if I had my pick, that would be one of my top picks, because, you know, it's quick, you know, there's absolutely really nothing you can really do about that. You know, we as humans, you know, I mean, unless you're like, you know, you got like Bruce Willis and the other stories where folks try to like take a rocket to the sun to try to reboot something or whatever, or stop an asteroid from hitting us. But, you know, when it comes to certain cosmic forces, there's really, you know, there's not much we can do. But then there's also this amazing light show that can happen. Like you get to experience, you know, something never before witnessed, like Melancholia, if you remember Melancholia. Yes. Now, I don't imagine that would be how it goes down, but that was like with, I think, Kristen Durst and Kiefer Sutherland, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so that was that story ended in a cosmic destruction that was quite beautiful, you know.
Okay. One man's beautiful is another man's like, what the F? But okay.
Well, would you like long suffering that like climate crisis might be bringing, you know, or already is bringing, you know what I mean?
That's true.
It's just, there's so many other ways, like, and we don't even want to go down that list because there's already so many scary things that we're dealing with in our present moment. But for me, that one was one that, I mean, and believe me, the story has other things that we're dealing with. The reason why, Philadelphia is kind of in this city-state situation with limited power. It's kind of reversed to a place of like analog existence because of solar flares that sent, you know, Philadelphia and basically the world, much of the world back into a bit of a dark age of sorts. So that's kind of where the story is taking place in terms of what's happening in that world. But, you know, we find ways, we make ways out of no ways and start being innovative and creative in terms of what we can do to survive, you know, and build again. So the story is definitely about hope. So I want to just set the record straight out the gate that, you know, when I'm exploring apocalypse through these stories, it's really about birth, death, and rebirth, and the idea of recreating the world, building it anew, and making life something that, you know, we can all believe in again, you know?
I appreciate you saying that because, you know, knowing you a little bit like I do and knowing how much the stories resonate with you, it has always been about looking at these apocalyptic tales or stories that are set in maybe a dystopian future, if you will, but pulling, you know, the light and the hopeful from there, you know what I mean? And I think that's and I think that's something to model, because a lot of people could easily fall into the dark when you're looking into those stories, but there actually is a lot of light there. There actually is a lot of hope if you know where to look.
Oh, always, because a lot of people look, when you read Parable of the Sower, I mean, that's a dark book. You know what I mean? Pages after pages of just scary stuff. But I think the through line of it is this hope and transcendence that's representative in Earthseed, and this spirituality that is holding, you know, Lauren Olamina up, you know, in her spirit, the protagonist. And so for me, like, you know, creating this character, Lilikoi Brown, who is, you know, the star of Chronicles of Asylum, it was really about thinking like, you know, how does she fit in this kind of, in my mind, like this pantheon of apocalyptic stories and heroes and heroines and whatnot, from the stories I've read and the movies I've watched. And I feel like in my mind, Lilikoi would be friends with Lauren Olamina, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And there's a big part of how I want, like, you know, us to remember, like, one of the things that made Octavia's work so compelling, particularly in Parable of the Sowers, because it borrowed so much from headlines of life that we know and familiar ways of society and whatnot, and also characters that we know, you know? And for me, it was important to like, I mean, I gotta shout out Ursula Rucker, because honestly, thinking about
Oh, oh, did we lose Lee? I think we may have lost Lee. I think we may have lost Lee. So I'm going to take her segue over to Ursula Rucker, because she took that segue over to Ursula Rucker. Ursula, who actually gives voice to Supernova in Chronicles of Asylum. Oh, she's back. Is she back?
Oh, thank God. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know what happened. You all froze. Did I freeze too?
You froze. We all froze. You froze. We all froze. We all froze.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
I don't know. What was I saying?
I
was talking about Ursula, I think.
Right. You were just about to talk about, shout out to Ursula Rucker, who gives voice to Supernova in the Chronicles of Asylum story.
Right. And you got to understand that this is a story about Philly. So, you know, I mean, for someone who's born and raised here, you know, when I think about, I mean, the dream of who I would have play Supernova, it's important to think like, you know, and if you pay attention, if you're on social media, we were just kind of talking about this in Soundcheck, that Ursula's voice is just unmistakable, so distinct, so powerful, you know, so healing, you know, and she does it in a way that only she can do it. And I've always thought that like, yo, if I make this story, any story, like.
Gotta find a spot for Ursula Rucker's voice. So let's bring Ursula Rucker into our story now. Ursula, how are you doing there?
Thank you. I'm blushing. Thank you, Lee. I don't know if she can hear me because she froze again, but we'll see.
It's fine. Let's talk about how you came into the story of Chronicles of Asylum, and was this something new for you? For those, you know, you are acclaimed in the spoken word world. Is this something new for you to be doing voice acting, and how did you find this project?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, simply my sister asked me, you know, really, it's like, hey, hit me up, told me what it was. You know, I'm blessed. I get to be invited into the most innovative, creative, clever, you know, groundbreaking type projects. And this is one of them, I think, to write stories for people to listen to and interact technologically with nature, you know, and especially now, I mean, you know, because we're still allowed to go out in nature, as far as I heard, and so you know, we can still use these apps, so that's good. But yeah, you know, I had done voiceovers, so I do voiceovers, but no, I don't do too much. Acting always scares me, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, oh, you gotta act a little bit. Oh my God.
What do you mean it scares you? I don't see you being scared of nothing.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing your thing, right? Say I'm doing my thing and I'm incorporating a little flourish and whatever into my thing when I'm doing my thing, but like I know that well, that's just like a natural organic. But if somebody says, oh, you have to act, you have to like play a character, all of a sudden something inside me goes, and I like being in the studio that day with Jaylene, and Adrian, and the engineer. What's the engineer's name?
Michael Keeley.
Thank you. And Michael, he was awesome. It was such a learning experience, you know? I mean, I do this, like, I think we all need to be put in experiences or challenge ourselves with experiences that,
Right.
you know, use what we do, like a touch of what we do, but kind of teaches us something else about it, so we can bump our levels up. It's a little scary, but that's when the magic happens. So you know, yeah, I loved it. I loved the experience. I was listening to Jaylene. I was like so impressed. I'm like, oh, she an actress. Yeah. Look, I was shook. I was like, oh God, Jaylene, an actress.
Jaylene, don't let her get away with it. Don't let her get away with it.
Award-winning actress at that.
Award-winning actress. See, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, you gotta come in and bless
held it down. So listen, I was impressed as well.
Jaylene, I'm curious from both of you, Ursula, Jaylene, and we'll start with you, Jaylene, to bring you into the conversation. Jaylene, who gives voice to the lead of Chronicle of Asylum, LaCoy Brown. You know, how did you find your way into this project? And was this a project that spoke to you? Are you into Afrofuturistic, you know, stories or science fiction?
I came into this project because Adrienne Mackey reached out, and you know, she's seen my work before, and so she reached out and asked if I would be interested, and I read the script and I was like, this sounds really, really cool. So I came on board, and it was so much fun. I have not read a lot of Afrofuturistic works, so this was really exciting for me. You know, I've heard of like science fiction stories and futuristic stories, but none of them were Black centered. They were not centered in Blackness, and so this was like, okay, like I like this. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like I can get into this. And so it was really a really awesome experience. I'm so glad that I got to do this and listen it and being able to listen to it, and it's just a really awesome story. So again, thank you, Lee, for having me.
Thank you so much for saying that. I mean, I'm just excited, like honestly, and Len, you can understand this, that like you just feel like a kid in a candy store when someone's able to produce something like this. Like, because all I did was write the story, right? I wrote the story in final draft. I had to write it like a movie. But when I heard Jaylene's voice, like when I heard her bring the LaCoy to life, like I was hooked. I was like, oh, I gotta keep doing this. Because honestly, I hadn't really I've been trying this, and I should say, Chronicles of Asylum is a prologue chapter, or like a parallel chapter of Graffiti in the Grass, right? Which is this epic story that I've been trying to write for the longest. And so when being a part of the Swim Pony project, like I just have to shout out Adrienne Mackey for just knowing like the theater community and being able to tap Jaylene and say, and among so many other characters as well, because like I said, this is a stellar cast that I couldn't have found on my own, no way, you know? But Jaylene's voice, just the way she embodied the character in a way, because you know, this is before COVID that we started this, right? But at the same time, you know, it was done in a remote way where like, you know, I wrote the thing and then like I was in for a couple of rehearsals, but I had to write so many notes around like how the character would be and how certain lines might be delivered and everything. And then they took it and they went in the studio and everyone delivered their lines. But you know, I mean, Jaylene, you nailed it, okay? You nailed it, and I couldn't be more happy. And it's just exciting to see a story world really become reality, you know? It's amazing. And now because this is out on the trail, it's just, you know, that immersive layer just adds so much to the experience, you know?
Well, let's get into it a little bit. Jaylene, Lee, who is LaCoy Brown, this lead who walks us through the Chronicles of Asylum?
Okay, so she's young, right? I'm not gonna put an age on her, but she's young. She's a young woman of color, of Black. She's of African and indigenous descent, right? She's connected to the Lenni Lenape here in the Delaware Valley, so that's important in terms of her cultural identity. But, she's also a citizen of the city-state of Philadelphia, also known as Philadelphia, right? And it's this larger region that has been walled, like a very tall wall that is gating the community, because basically there's this concept of earthbounds, and earthbounds are essentially refugees of the planet, because there's been an exodus off-world, because we know that the planet is dying. And so even before this cosmic destruction, climate change is still reeling and doing its thing. So by the time 24 years down the road, we're already suffering with that. And so after the solar flares and everything, Philadelphia is one of the few cities in the world that has somehow maintained power. And it has something to do with the ley lines of the planet and the earth, right? Why Philadelphia still has this energy source, and is able to be electrified. And so, power is an amazing thing. It helps civilization. So Philly is one of the remaining cities up and running. And Lilikoi is fortunate enough to be a citizen of the city-state, and she works for Rogue Radio, right? And she goes on a mission to the hinterlands, where she got to go across the river, across the Schuylkill, and she goes to the hinterlands in search of these missing tourists that go to this colony of refugees. Sometimes, because, refugees, they're inventive. They got things, and maybe you might go over there on a day trip or something to the colony, and you're basically exiled from the city-state. Either by choice, self-exile, by charge, you've committed some sort of crime, so you're not allowed to stay in the city, or by chance, maybe you got stuck out there or whatever, you know what I mean? Right. Behind, the walls. And so Lilikoi's on this mission, but she's determined, she's passionate, she cares about her community. And like I said, I feel like she's somebody who befriends with like a Lauren Olamina, I feel like she is a bit of a reluctant survivor. I think all of us, we're not always ready for what the world is throwing at us. But Lilikoi, she takes it in stride, and she really, she's a tough cookie.
Is that pretty much your read on the character, Jaylene?
Yes, I feel like Lilikoi is so, like, she's spicy, she's ready, she's on a mission. She has a goal, and she's going to accomplish it. She doesn't care what's in her path. She is ready. And I connected with that part of her, because she's like, I'm here to find out, break this case, find out some more information. And she didn't care who she needed to talk to. She was going to get the job done. So yeah, I identify with that.
I appreciated that about the character as well, because that was very Philly. That's why Philly is still around, because that's how Philly do.
Oh, so, right. We're scrappers, and it's like this, that's the thing about Philly and mythologies, right? It's so easy to make this like a fertile ground for birthing new myths, because, there's something so tragic, but yet so triumphant about the city of brotherly, sisterly love, otherworldly love. There's just so many cool things about this place, and it feels magical. And of course, it was also in the book of Revelation, the Church of Philadelphia, this idea too of just the name of Philadelphia. Right. So many sci-fi films like 12 Monkeys, and so many classics that I feel, World War Z, apocalyptic stories that take place, Signs, I love movies set in Philly. I mean, we could go on about Philly as a cinematic town, a place to burst stories.
Right, most definitely. And we actually, if I am correct, we actually have a clip of Chronicles of Asylum.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That features Jaylene in the role of Lilikoi Brown, speaking with one Ursula Rucker, that amateur actress we've heard so much about, just speaking with her as Supernova. So let's take a moment to just hear a little piece of Chronicles of Asylum.
But I'm here investigating the missing tourists. I'm sure you may be aware, as many as 33 people have been recorded as missing since 2043 after coming to this earthbound colony. All came from the heart on day passes, but never returned. I'm following the case of the Hunter twins, Snow and Sequoia. I'm here on behalf of Rogue Radio and their families back in the city-state. People are starting to wonder if there's any truth to the urban myth about, well,
No, child. I guess I don't know. Why don't you enlighten me?
Some people are saying that the missing are being abducted by mercenaries and smuggled onto cargo ships to be forced into indentured servitude off-world. I've also heard talk of a secret order of time-binders and this mythical flight of the phoenix.
Fascinating. Well, truth is stranger than fiction, my dear. And myth is at the root of all reality. Those tales you've been told don't even come close to what's real. But I wonder, can you handle the truth? Are you ready to face the world as it really is? Hold on. You say you're here, hot on the trail of the missing, trying to retrace their steps. But I'm here to remind you this is your journey. This is your story now. And so here we are, back at the beginning, back at the crossroads.
Ursula Rucker was nervous. Give me that nervous stuff. Get out of here.
I know, right? I know. She a natural. I knew she'd be a natural too. I knew it.
Exactly.
Like butter. just butter slathering onto our ears. Like, yes.
Yes.
Especially when you know it's going to be an audio story and is she going to be all up in the lobes and stuff. It's like, yeah, come on. Like, Ursula's going to kill this. So thank you, Urs, for making dreams come true.
I'm blushing and I'm thankful, and I'm so thankful to work with my sister too. You know, we've known each other a long time, so to see Lee like shining and rolling out her artistic brilliance out here into the world, and everybody knowing about it and getting to find out about it and experience it is a beautiful thing. And you know, look at us. You know, Ursula, Jaylene, Lee up here. Look, oh my goodness.
I know we doing it. We doing it right here. So, okay, we are. We doing it. We doing it. And look, it's a beautiful thing. But so if I could just say a quick story though too, like a sidebar story is that, you know, I don't know, Ursula, if you remember this, but the first time we met. Now we know each other from a lot of things. Philly's a small city, right?
Biggest small city in the world.
Like. It is. Well, the thing is, I believe in signs and symbols, you know, like this mythology thing. It's not just about creativity and art practice. Like for me, it's about life. You know, I truly believe that myth is a framework for reality, and there's so much power in it, right? Like transformative power. And so a big part of mythology are signs and symbols, right? That's what makes them vital. That's what makes myths, you know, resonate with so many folks around the world. And so when I met Ursula, like I gotta say is that I don't know if you remember this, Urs, but we met at community college. We were performing. It was like a poetry thing, and I was in love for the first time, y'all. It was young. I was in my 20s. You know what I mean? I was young. I was in love for the first time, and somehow we got to talking, and Ursula shared with me. She asked me, I don't know, because everyone's talking about signs and stuff, but she asked me the sign of my love. And I was like, I told her the birthday, and it happened to be the same birthday as her brother, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, for me, like, and then Ursula and I had this exchange in this moment, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be friends with her for life. I just know it. Like, I just had this feeling, you know, and at that point I was just a fan, you know. That was before the Painted Bride and our connection, because my brother worked there, and I met Ursula again through my brother and everything, and the Painted Bride community, which we're still a part of today. Shout out to the Painted Bride and Building Bridges crew. But anyway, so I just feel like her being a part of this story is kind of a full circle moment for me in terms of following signs and believing in them. And I fully, you know, invest in that as a way to live my life. You know, that's how, I mean, not a lot of people think that, you know, logic is the way to go to make certain decisions. And I believe in logic too. But I also believe in following signs and symbols. So a big part of that is how I got here today on Chronicles of Asylum and making this a reality. So.
Oh, that's true. Very true.
I'm speechless and honored. And let's talk about like the story. You know what I mean? Like when I got to listen to it, I had, haven't experienced the app yet, but just listening to it and walking through Bartram's garden was just so amazing. Jaylene, it was like listen, Lil Coy was like, I could see that. I was like, yo, I'm coming. I was like, all right, wait. It was so wild to like walk through this, to listen to this story. I was so impressed with the fact that Lee like wrote that whole story and like all the characters and everything.
Yeah, and it just came out. We did that in like 4 weeks. Like we had to crank it out. There's a major production situation. So, and again, think about there's 9 of the stories. And then shout out to Michael and the Toaster Lab crew and everyone who had to like, create soundscapes for all these stories. Because the thing is too, you got to understand that like, it's not just listen to a story, but the whole GPS trigger, and that's why y'all still waiting on the app, but it's gonna be worth the wait, you know what I mean? Because it's just like technology, and it is a pandemic. Let's understand that products and pandemics, people are behind those things, you know what I mean? So we gotta wait, but that's cool. And the thing is that, wow, like it's just so layered. And and listen folks, when you go out there, get your proper headphones, because you can hear, his birds calling in the left ear, and like water trickling, you know what I mean, in the right ear. It's just amazing. Like it's immersive for real. So and then shout out to Bartram's Garden.
It's immersive, but it even in the audio soundscape of it all, it is still very cinematic, because the first things you hear when you hear Chronicles of Asylum is this whirling helicopter, and the way that it comes into the story, you can feel the flight of it from far away to as it gets nearer and until it lands. And because of the language of cinema that is embedded in all of us, so when we hear that helicopter, we can automatically see the scene.
But Len, can I, not to interrupt you, Len, but because I was like, is there a helicopter in the story? But actually there's not. It's actually the propeller. It's like the rudder of a boat. It's a water.
Oh, it's a boat. See, I'm all wrong. I saw a helicopter.
No, I know, but I feel you.
That's right, because she crosses the river. That's right.
In the because I didn't want people to be listening for a helicopter, like, you know what I mean, be thinking that that's like Rick Grimes or something, some shit, because I'm thinking helicopter, what story is this?
It's 2045, there are helicopter boats in Philadelphia. That's what's
happening. You know what I mean? I mean, there could be, Black Hawk situation going on, but no, this is actually a water taxi, because remember, this is like, we're kind of reducing things to some analog, just crossing the river. It's like, that's all that is. But yes, like the sound design is everything. And it made it just so believable, right? Mm-hmm. Like just so believable that the landscape, and again, Bartram's Garden, what a trail to invent a story upon, you know what I mean? Like what a backdrop, because every writer was charged with writing an original story for a certain trail, and because it's connected to location and the GPS and everything, you want to think about, all right, how can I use these landmarks, right? And what I will share is that there's an obelisk in the beginning of the story as one of the sites, like the major landmarks where Lilicoy begins her journey. And there's so many other cool things. I mean, just walking along the Schuylkill, going through the wooded areas. Sankofa Farms is a part of that. Shout out to the folks at Sankofa Farms that are doing great work over there, and just the whole team at Bartram's Garden. I have been in collaboration with them before for other projects and programs, but to like really dive into the trails and get into nature and create something explicitly for that was just like, I don't know, it was a dream come true for me, straight up. I mean, it might sound cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, no, I see. So how did this all come together, Jaylene, Ursula? How did it all come together, the recording of this? What's to me is almost like a throwback to old radio dramas almost. How did that come together? Where was it all done, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, we were down in South Philly, in Michael Kylie's basement, and I just remember being there several days. It's not that big, you know. It's a basement, and it's. I remember having my sweater on and having some early calls. But yeah, I would go down there, and each time that someone else had to come in to record, I was there because we were doing our scenes together.
Okay.
And so I was there every time, unless I wasn't in the scene. But I was there a lot with the other characters, and it would usually just be me and that one other person in the scene. I think maybe one time we had a scene with 3 of us. But yeah, it was really a really intimate space, and you do the take, and then Adrian might give some direction, or Michael might say, I need you to do it this way because of the sound. And we do several takes, and then when they're like, all right, I think we got it, we move on to the next section. And it kind of proceeded like that. Ursula, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Thanks, Jaylene. Yeah, you just reminded me of something. That look, a little speckle of fear came up again, remembering the moment when you know, when you were like, you know, and Adrian would give, you know, just whatever, if there was something that was needed, you know, and it was so easy, but I was definitely on my P's and Q's. I'm not gonna listen, I learned. No, I did. It's awesome, because like if I ever have to do, I mean, I had done things, but this was different. I can't really explain how, you know, maybe it's the story and, you know, our interaction. I think that's what it was, you know. It was like, it was that I had to be on point with our interaction too. So it really helped that we were there together at the same time. Because I'm sure it's done the other way, where you just, you know, the person's just doing it. And so, yeah, but this is amazing to see it all come together now. You know, when you start a long time ago, and then it's like all these steps, and yeah, things take work. And if it's worth it, it's worth the work. And now you have the end product, and it's beautiful. I loved it. I loved the experience. I did. You really like transport.
You do. Ursula, where?
Oh, like, yeah, big up to Michael, because like the effects, yo, the sound effects, hey, when I heard that in the headphones, we were walking through Bartram's, I was like, oh, I think like I was walking with Taib, Lee. I was walking with Taib, and he was talking to me. And then is when first time my voice came in, I was like, shh, I just came in.
Right. You want a moment to hear, like, you know what I mean? No, exactly. No, it's because you gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention. Because don't go around there and get lost now and go where you're not supposed to go because you're not paying attention. So you have to really, you gotta listen actively, you know? It's about active listening and participation into the story. So, you know, it's cool. Oh, and I can share real quick. I got to shout out Alice Wang, one of my former students from Moore College of Art and Design. If you could see this. This is a little field notebook, right? We created this, for like, basically like for folks, when we did the preview and we went out to Bartram's Garden, you know, we basically made a little notebook that you could experience the trail. Oh, look, Ursula's hers. And we did a haiku workshop because there's a haiku featured in the story, right? And Ursula, you know, her thing is haiku too. So, you know, it was cool to also have an analog element, right? Because some folks, you know, this is a new thing. And I should say too, that TrailOff, one of the goals of TrailOff is to get folks that don't usually come out to the trails, come out to these green spaces and these parks and whatnot, to experience nature in a new way, you know, kind of get them an incentive to come is to experience the story, especially when they're written by folks that are diverse, right? And so there's a really great group of authors who bring so many different perspectives and identities and, you know, story worlds to life, you know, through different lenses. And I think that, you know, that's super important too, you know, that like we understand how important it is, especially right now during a pandemic when we're trying to social distance, and folks are not really comfortable with being outdoors, among others. So, you know, it's a great time to hit the trail and go out and experience this on your own, like, you know, some solitude time, or bring a friend or whatever. But yeah, you definitely got to get the proper headphones and be actively listening.
Be actively listening to Chronicles of Asylum as you take this immersive journey through Bartram's garden. It's interesting you mentioned the times that we are in, you know, the pandemic and how that is bumping up against, you know, the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement across the globe, actually, which only goes to highlight how important stories such as these are in whatever form, you know, in this audio form, in visual, on stage, or however, because to show that our lives matter and that we will be a part of the future. Jaylene even just spoke about it, like, oh my God, this is a story. It's a science fiction story and we're here. Oh no, get out of here. For a lot of people, that's unheard of. It's so unheard of to a moment, to the point that you don't even think about that you didn't even think about it, that we're not there in the future, you know? And to see this story, and I think that, I'm not going to give it away, but I think the end of this tale is such a beautiful affirmation of family at the end of this that really just like almost, it like hit me in my feels a little bit. I had to call my actor. I'm not even gonna lie, it did. I was like,
that's good. That's what I was trying to do, right?
Like, damn,
yeah, I know, but like, and I didn't know, and I should say too, I didn't, you know, the challenge was like, who are you writing for? This is like a trail, right? So it's not, I mean, I would say it was kind of like PG-13, like, I mean, because you're thinking about a movie, right? So you want it to be for families, for all ages, you know?
Right.
But I feel like all those good stories are going to kind of pluck at the heartstrings a little bit, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's the apocalypse, and there's endings and beginnings and endings again. And so there's going to be goodbyes, you know? So this happens. And so, yeah, you know, I mean, I did my best, but I also was channeling, I was thinking about my own family and thinking about what I would do. A lot of times, like, I see this as like creative problem solving, as like a solution-based story for myself to kind of go through the motions of what I would do in this scenario. Like, what would I do if, like, yo, cosmic destruction, imminent, T-minus 36 days, you know, what are you going to do? The world is going to go lights out in 36 days. You know, I mean, what kind of moves would you make? Who are you going to connect with? What can you really do, you know? And obviously family is going to be at the forefront of everyone's minds. But, you know, I think a lot about right now at this time, like, so many are losing folks and unable to say goodbye with this pandemic and what it has done with this inability to, you know, be by your loved one's side, and these moments of like missing out on goodbyes, that is something that really haunts me. Like, it's something that really, I think it haunts a lot of people. Like, your final words are just, it's so major, you know? Yo, and shout out to RBG, okay? And the loss of RBG, and thinking about her final words, like there's this project that it comes from, this story, the Escape Artist mixtape zine, right? In the recent issue of the zine, Parable of Coronas, I got the zine here. This is the zine, you know, so Graffiti in the Grass, Chronicles of Asylum, has kind of like speculative artifacts that show up in the real world, and the zine is one of them. But in the zine, there's this exercise, like first contact, final transmission. And final transmission is about saying your last goodbyes, and at least going through the exercise or the ritual of doing that, when right now we are robbed of so many opportunities for farewell. And I think that for me, like, I got to get that written out. I got to get that in my mind. I have to say that now, so that if I'm ever in a moment, because I'm constantly thinking about, you know, scenarios, emergency scenarios, you know, that's just who I am. And it's kind of been my charge in life. You know, I'm trying to make it something that can turn into positive good. And so these stories are coming out of that. But I also learn a lot about emergency prep and the art of survival. You know, that's what it's about. So if anything, you know, I'm hoping that we can use these stories as a way to kind of troubleshoot and figure things out, at least in our mind, to have peace of mind. Because when you already know that you've said your piece to people, farewell and goodbye is not so painful. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because you feel a sense of peace because you've said what you needed to say. You know, I think a lot of folks feel like that across the board.
Yeah, and there's a story. There's a moment in the story. Jaylene can speak to this. That Lilikoi shares with her brother, who was played by Akeem Davis. That is. Damn girl. That's all I'm gonna say. Is damn girl.
Listen, when I listened to that back, I was literally sobbing, and it just, yeah. Akeem Davis is an amazing actor. But
he nailed it.
He nailed it. But that's also my brother. Like he just got married to my.
Oh, did you all know each other before? I figured you did. Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because that was just like, I mean, the sentiment, the tone, everything that y'all exchanged felt like exactly what, I mean, I don't know, like, it's just amazing, you know? It's amazing how that really played out so well. And yes, like I said, like the actors, everyone, it's just so amazing, just so amazing. And again, there was a few folks that were, you know, just newbies, like really kind of like natural actors or what we call ourselves, like how Urs was like a first-time person. And myself, you know, I made a little like appearance in a sense because like, why not? You know what I mean? But also shout out to like Lauren McBride of Galaxy Grills and Astro by Lauren. She does the astrology bit in there, but she's a real life astrologer and she, you know, that's her thing. But I know I wanted to.
I didn't know what. I didn't know that Lauren. It was Lauren McBride. Okay, I know Lauren. I love Lauren.
Yep, real deal.
Yeah, that was Lauren. That was who was doing like the cosmic bit about the eclipses on Rogue Radio. Did it freeze?
So many connections.
I know, so many connections.
So many connections.
It was awesome.
And
it was awesome.
I think it's important to mention that when you work on, can you hear me?
We hear you now. You're coming in now.
Uh-oh, I think I froze. Anthony.
Okay. Ursula is
I might have to
no, these connections, y'all, technology. Woo!
Okay.
It's tough. It's tough.
Now, you know, we just have to wait for the spaceship controls to figure it all out when they're
ready, right?
That's all.
Right, when they're ready. We're good now, Ursula. Go ahead with your thought.
Okay, I think it stands mentioning that, you know, when you work on a project, then you get to collaborate with artists that you've never worked with before, people that you've never worked with before, to make something, and then you come to know their work, and then you get introduced to their work, and you end up, you know, going to something that they made, you know. So I ended up going to Jaylene's play, you know, that I wouldn't have known about if I hadn't met Jaylene. Yup, I was in there.
I didn't know you could see.
That's so cool.
Yep, and it was I was like right at the beginning, right, of Corona. So like everybody was a little nervous. Somebody that was sneezing and whatnot in there. I was like, yo. Listen, we trying to pay attention. We trying to enjoy this. Okay, you gotta move it on out. No, but it was great. It was great. I loved seeing it. Was great. So I wouldn't have known it. So like these connections that are made for possible even future collaborations, you know, between artists that you get to know and work when you work on a project.
And that play, if it was, I believe, was that Renaissance in the Belly of the Whale, Jaylene? That
Yes,
was at the
Renaissance in the belly of a killer whale.
Renaissance.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that was at the Wilma Theater here in Philadelphia earlier this year. I didn't make it out. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to check it out. It looked like it was something special.
Yes. Yes, it definitely was. Oh, thank you for putting the
Actually
link.
got held over. They said, "No, you can stay. No, don't go nowhere. Y'all can stay a little later." So it must have been good stuff. So it's almost time for us to be to be closing this out, but Lee, the Chronicles of Asylum, TrailOff,
Yes.
Twin Pony present. It's going to be the app. I believe the plan is for it to be available tomorrow.
Any day now.
Any day now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any day now, so that people can listen to the story as they take a stroll through Bartram's garden. Correct?
Yep. Bartram's Mile along the Schuylkill River. Indeed. Yep.
Right. Okay. And I saw that you snuck a little piece of your love for Prince in there. I heard Graffiti Bridge. I know.
I stuck a love for as many things as I could, but yes, definitely for my dude Prince. Of course.
All right. Before we get out of here, if people want to get in contact with you, learn more about Chronicles of the Asylum, all the other projects that you and Myth Media Studios have going on, how can they reach out to you?
I would say check me out at Myth Media Studios on IG. I mean, I'm trying to do my IG thing. I mean, I'm on Facebook and stuff, but IG is definitely where Myth Media Studios is going to be posting about all these projects. And then also leesumpter.com. I'm going to be uploading new work and project updates there as well.
Cool. And Jaylene, if people want to check out everything that you have going on, they can go to...
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yep.
You're muted.
Yep. Here we go. They can go to JayleneClarkOwens.com. I just posted it into the chat as well as all of my social media things. I'm also the co-host and co-founder of a live podcast called Papa Pank. It is a quite silly show, but it's also my friend and I, Justin Jane, we're just very silly together, but we also bring on a lot of guests, a lot of artists, and talk to them and whatnot. This Wednesday is going to be our summer finale game night, so it's actually featuring Akeem Davis, who we just mentioned.
Wow.
Yeah, Tasha Canales, who is his wife, and she was also in one of the TrailOff stories. Anthony Martinez Briggs and James Imes. All of us will be on Papa Pank this week, so feel free to tune in on Papa Pank's Facebook page. I put the information in the chat as well.
Cool. Thank you so much. And Ursula, Miss Rucker, if you will, if people want to contact you, how should they get it? Where can we find out everything that's going on in your world?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on having my own website again. I'm looking forward to that. Having my own personal cyberspace. I don't want to share all the space with everybody all the time. I want my own too. I don't think any of us really have our own. But yeah, so it's just a regular social media at Rucker on Twitter and Instagram, and then Ursula Rucker, lowercase, is like the regular, everyday thing, and then capital letters for the first initials of my name is my artist page. I post different stuff on different platforms. Yeah, just for now, it's just the social media stuff that everybody else has. Thank you for asking.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. And thank you, each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, who took the time to check us out. You'll see the links in the chat that you can connect with these fantastic individuals. Check out Chronicles of Asylum. Go to TrailOff, Bartram's Mile, and we'll give all of the information where you can get involved and listen to this fantastic audio drama in your ears. It is a beast. I'm telling you, it's a beast. Immerse yourself.
Hey, Len.
Yes.
Len, I was gonna say, is it cool? I don't know how much time we've got, but like, I thought it might be nice to take us out with the haiku that brings us into the story, you know, maybe at least a little snippet of it. I'm kind of taking Ursula's lead. I just love the way haikus just be setting the tone, and I feel like a little poetry, a little inspiration might be good right now to end the evening.
Please do.
All right, so this is called Black Hole Sunrise, and this is the poem that is etched on the obelisk in the story of Chronicles of Asylum. All that lives must die. Time is a spiral in space. Endless is the soul. Love and gravity will pull you through the darkness. If you dare, believe. Rider on the storm at event horizon edge. Death and life are one. Fear not the abyss. Cosmic wombs birth eternal. From the ash, gods will rise. All light is not lost. Reborn beyond the black hole, shines the morning star. Flight of the phoenix, fly beyond the eschaton. Earth's seed will survive. And that's it. That's a wrap, y'all.
That's Chronicles of Asylum.
That's Chronicles of Asylum.
Check it out.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for coming. I see my fam in the room and stuff. Thanks for coming. And so this is a recording, right? And we're gonna be posting this. I know the Fringe said they're gonna share it, and there'll be other ways to view this, you know. We're all on digital asynchronous time these days. So thank you those who were able to join us, you know what I mean, on a Saturday evening. Is it Saturday?
It's still Saturday, yes.
It's still Saturday. All right, cool. But thank you, Len. But wait, Len, what about the amazing Micheaux Mission? I mean, let's talk about the fact that Len, he does his own thing. And I should say, too, that Len and I go way back from the times of the Black Tribbles. I remember sitting up in many a radio station from WRD to G-Town Radio doing the talk back for The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's
we were,
right.
like, super fans of that. But now, you know, Len and Vince, they got their own podcast called the Micheaux Mission. So maybe you want to tell folks a little bit about that.
The Micheaux Mission, named after Oscar Micheaux, the granddaddy of Black film. It is 2 men, 1 podcast. Every Black film ever made is a weekly podcast where we are reviewing just that, every Black movie that has ever been made. We're at episode 245, I think.
Dang.
We are rocking out, and we always open up our third chair to bring guests on. We just recently spoke with Elizabeth Wellington of the Philadelphia Inquirer. We're reviewing Slight. You can check that out. That's our most recent episode. And I would love to. Lee's been a guest on our show, and I love
Purple Rain. I did Purple Rain, y'all. You know,
you did Purple Rain, of course. And I'll be more than happy. I hope you won't reject my emails when I reach out to you, Jaylene and Ursula, to have you both on our show. We would love to have you on our show.
That sounds super cool, Len. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
If we come on the show, do you choose the film or we choose?
No, you choose. You get to choose your own Black film that you want to review.
But it has to be one you haven't talked about.
Right.
It has to be one that we haven't reviewed so far. And trust me,
there's a lot of films out there. You'd be surprised.
I'm excited already.
There are a ton that we haven't done so far. So it'll promises to be fun. So I'll be reaching out to you. Okay, so check out look in your email. We gotta get out of here.
All right. Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you.
We gotta go.